welcome to another episode of Wedflics. I'm Julia Braime, I'm your host, and I'm the founder and editor of Brides Up North, the top UK wedding blog for northern couples, and I'm also the editor of Unveiled magazine. Today on the show, we meet Nicola of amazing wedding florist Dittany Entwined. So I filmed this with Nicola just before the restrictions on a 30 guest wedding during the coronavirus were cut to 15 plus suppliers. So if we refer to 30 at all during this interview, then you know that that was a pre-guidance change thing. I hope that you enjoy the episode. It's absolutely packed full of inspiration and flowery loveliness. So it's over to Nicola. So hi Nicola, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thank you. Welcome to the show. So everybody, this is Nicola. She's the lady behind the beautiful floral designs at Dittany Entwined. You might have seen some of her work on either of our websites at bridesupnorth.com or at unveiledmagazine.co.uk. And actually, today on the day that we're filming this, she's got a feature over on our Unveiled magazine blog at Wald Farm with bijou events and photographed by Freya Raby. And if you'd like to check out Nicola's gorgeous work, I'll drop a link where we share this, because it's a really good example of your sort of style, isn't it, Nicola?
Yeah, it's beautiful. Really good shoot.
Yeah, really good shoot. One of my faves of late, actually. Absolutely loved it. So, Nicola, I'll start waffling on. Why don't you introduce yourself and your business, Dittany Entwined?
So hi everyone, I'm Nicola. I set up Dittany Entwined at the beginning of 2019. And my main reason for setting it up really was because I got married in 2018, did my flowers for my wedding and just really, really loved it. So started doing some more floristry classes and things like that with Sarah from Leafy Couture, and it kind of just evolved from that really. And then got really busy for this year, and then obviously COVID-19's changed all of that for me and all my couples. But yeah, so that's kind of where it all started.
So you're quite brave as a bride-to-be to just do your own flowers. I mean,
yeah, I wouldn't advise it. It was stressful.
No,
yeah.
Neither would I. But so if you'd met me in the run to your wedding, at a wedding show or via one of our online forums, I'd have told you not to. But it's obviously led to this amazing career for you. So was that always kind of in your blood? Were you always really creative?
Yeah, at school and stuff, I loved art. Like art was like my favourite thing. I found it quite therapeutic. It almost didn't feel like a lesson to me, and I loved it. But I also love science and stuff like that. So I kind of went down the logical route of doing the thing that you should do, so kind of thing. And really, really missed the kind of artistic, creative side, and that's how I would kind of link. I think my floristry style is quite artistic anyway in that way. I quite like using mixed media. It's not just fresh flowers or whatever. It kind of evolves into whatever that person wants or is in my mind at that time. So it's more like an art form for me. So yeah, I've always been creative, and I think doing my own wedding, and like most people planning their wedding, you do get more creative if that's in you. It is, it's one of probably the most creative big days you have in your life. And so I did quite a lot of things for my wedding, thinking that it would be really, really good and really nice, and it was actually really stressful. But it has allowed me to develop this. It's given me the confidence to be able to go, I can do this. And give me a really creative outlet that I didn't have before.
Definitely. I'm with you. I was also the kid at school who was quite academic but loved art. And when you just said like art wasn't a lesson to me, absolutely not. I've never thought of it a lesson ever in my life. And I also went down the sort of traditional academia route, and I became a lawyer. And then I've totally obviously flipped that and come out and got into the creative industry, where I kind of use all my business knowledge, because you'll use some of your business skills and skills you developed in your other role in your business now, for sure. But you apply all that knowledge to running your own business. You mentioned that you've done some training with my friend Sarah from Leafy Couture.
Yeah.
And I think you've done some other training too, haven't you?
Yeah, I've also done quite a lot of training with Emma Soulsby down in London. They're kind of my main two florists that I've worked alongside with quite a lot. Yeah.
So why do you think, obviously because you had that creative spirit, why has it been important for you to do that training? What's that brought to your business?
Well, I think like with anybody, you feel like you're more official if you've done something structured like that. So I think initially part of it was to do with that, of just knowing where to start with something. Like I had an idea, I knew kind of that I was always going to want to stay true to what I kind of like and let the kind of just artistic therapeutic side through, but I wanted to learn. So Emma Soulsby taught me a lot about the business side of setting something up, and all of that kind of things that I hadn't really thought about. I just like making pretty things. That's kind of where it came from. And Sarah's courses taught me the practical things of how do you make a buttonhole and how do you make different styles of bouquets, and all of those things about conditioning flowers and all of the things that you need for it to be successful and to be high quality, which is what I would want it to be. So that's kind of the reason why I went down that route, to kind of know what I needed to do, develop my own skills and style, and get in touch with people in the industry, and have mentors and people to bounce ideas off and all of things. And they still are like that now today.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, one of the things in our Unveiled network that you're a part of is supporting each other and collaborating and really kind of lifting each other up and not suppressing each other just because you happen to do the same thing. And that is definitely, I haven't worked personally with Emma, but I've heard about her work, but I have worked a lot with Sarah. And that is one of the things that Sarah's really good at. She's really great at supporting other florists and creating this community.
And supporting you to be you within your business. I think that was the other thing, and I think that's what's led me to go back to those two people for extra courses afterwards as well. That they're not teaching you to be them, they're teaching you to be you within your business and giving you the skills to do that. And I think you can see that with mine and Sarah's style. I think they're different, even though I've learned from her. And I think that's a credit to them, really, of how, and that's why people go to them for training and things.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting. Yours and Sarah's styles are completely different, and I know them both very well, and I love them both. So as a stylist for our magazine, it's really interesting to work with people who are clearly at a really great level, but who can deliver on kind of different, different sort of like briefs, different briefs.
Different briefs and different given the same thing. And I think that's what's really lovely about things like Instagram and Unveiled and Brides Up North for couples looking, is that it's so visual and you can see people, that's their style and that's what they do. And if that's what you like and that's what they want, they're going to interpret whatever you want for your wedding in that way. And I think that's what's really, really good about it.
Definitely. And so how would you describe your style then?
I've actually written down a load of words.
That's great.
I think my style it's quite, in terms of actually just about the floristry, it's quite textured. Like I've said, it's I like using mixtures of things. So I tend to use mixtures of dried flowers, fresh flowers. I like spray painting things, so it's quite like artistic and a little bit different maybe. But within a theme, like I always link it back to what the theme is. So whether it's a styled shoot, whether it's for a photographer, whether it's for a couple, linking it back to what they want their day to be and linking it back to their theme. So that can vary on a scale. So it could be all dried flowers and loads of pampas grass and very boho, or it could be touches of that theme. So I'd say my style kind of is linked back to the couple or whoever it is that's wanting the arrangement from me, but with that artistic kind of textured movement flair. I find it hard to do something really neat and really, because it's just not my style, and not I just find it harder to do, because visually when you're making something, you have to like it as well, don't you? You have to, visually think that it looks nice, and so I find something like that harder because it's just not my natural style.
Yeah. What I think is really interesting about your work, and it's really evident to me as someone who looks at a lot of this type of work, is that it is trend led. So you're definitely coming from like a trend perspective, but it's not cookie cutter trend led. So you're not just fitting into, like you said, like the boho theme or the, undone romance theme, although you do fit very well into undone romance. You're not sort of just following trends, you're more interpreting them in line with the requirements, which I think is really, really nice to see. And I think it's a mark of, like, to be honest, a true professional and someone who's going to go really far with what they do, because I'd imagine that your work's very in demand, both with stylists for styled shoots and with real couples too. Because it is, you are kind of, I would say, sort of cutting edge. We saw a lot sort of in the previous years of influence coming from Australia for weddings, and I'd say that your work sort of fits within that body. But then it has English touches too, so like your garden roses and your foliage.
I love roses, and I think that's what I'm trying to keep the same as well, keeping true to who I am, what brings me joy, like how, and think what people are coming to me for, as well, and that's the beauty of Instagram and all of these other platforms, is they come to you because they see something that you've made that is them, and that's exactly what they want for their big day.
Definitely. And so if you kind of, this is a strange year coming up, because we've sort of skipped a year of weddings, and usually as a magazine editor I'd be looking at trends and I'd be saying, well, okay, so the trend for next year is this, and I'm a bit stumped at the moment, so I wonder if you can help me. So what are your couples and the people you work with, what are they asking for? What do they want more of at the moment?
Well, I've got kind of a mixed bag, probably because for exactly the reasons you've just explained. But I have a lot of couples coming to me. I did a style shoot with Kim from Dreamboats in October last year, I think it was, and it was very like luxe, modern, but using a lot of like Pampers grass, and so instead of it being boho, and I think you featured it.
We did. I know the one.
And I've got a lot of couples coming to me for that kind of look, because I think originally people were thinking things like dried flowers and boho were boho, weren't they? They were, that's the look that you had, and I think it's given people a different option, that you can blend themes, and that's something that I talk to my couples quite a lot, that you don't have to have one set thing, you can blend things together, and it can be on more of a scale rather than you fit into a box kind of thing. So for me, that's just what I do, but I'd say all of my couples are like that next year on a scale. They're like, whether it's really classic, elegant, full of whites and greens, but there'll be elements of touches of other something that's doesn't normally fit in that box, if that makes sense. So I'd say all of them are like that they're it's more of a blend and mismatch.
That's what I'm finding, definitely, that it's more about the individual couple or kind of the individual shoot that you're working on than kind of going with the flow, and that's really exciting, and it actually kind of gets away from this dating with the theme, which I really don't like. So whenever we do something for Unveiled, we try and do something that's you can't easily create a Pinterest board with. So it's harder for the people involved in the shoot, but the results are so much better because it's not been done before, and that's kind of easier now. I don't know, it's a funny time. It's definitely a funny time. So smaller weddings then, obviously there's a need for those, and for to be thinking about styling at the moment. So what would you suggest to a couple who were having a smaller wedding? What would you, if they had their floral budget, what would you go for obviously within their taste parameters?
I think for me it would depend on what's important for them in terms of their day, and obviously when you're having a smaller wedding it's more intimate. Probably it goes back to being actually what it's about, the ceremony. So I had a conversation with a couple yesterday actually who have actually booked their wedding this year. They've been engaged for quite a long time, but just decided that they're just going to go for it, and they're actually getting married within 6 weeks, which is lovely.
Nice.
And it's like a lovely, and they're having to make all these decisions really quickly, but it almost focuses what it's about, and they want theirs to be, because they're not having a big wedding, they want it to be wow. They want their room to feel really full of flowers and candles and really romantic. So they're going full out with the decoration to kind of make up for the fact that they have less people, I suppose. So I suppose it depends on what that person feels. Whereas you might have somebody who wants to elope, go to the mountains and just have a bouquet and a buttonhole, and they don't really want much else. So I think it depends on the person and what they're wanting, I think, would be. And that's kind of how our conversations go. I mean, I love full on doing everything. Big backdrops is my kind of dream. And I think they're really versatile for couples as well. So you can have it for your ceremony, but it's also, if you're having an intimate wedding, it's there within all of your pictures, really. It's there the whole day. It's kind of part of it. So that's something that I really, really love doing. And if people have got a budget that they want to spend on things like that, that make it, you know, feel wow, sometimes something like that is better than spending on lots of table decorations, for example, because it's something that's a statement that's there that you can use all of the time. So I kind of, with my couples, it's very dependent on them, and I help them, guide them to what actually it is that they feel that they want. And a lot of the time they don't know, and it's just only from talking to people that they find out actually what it is, and try and drive them for what they want rather than what they think people should have, or what you should have for a wedding, or
definitely
those kind of things.
On that one. Yeah, because I mean, we're in the industry, we know that you can basically do whatever you like, and you know, and we know that an arch can move from the end of the aisle to behind the bride and groom on the wedding breakfast table, but you forget, actually, I think, when you're in the industry, that couples don't know that. So you know, that you know, unless they really have been very involved in the sort of research and deep dives into Pinterest, which, to be honest, quite a lot of our brides and grooms do, but it's good to talk to like a professional who can explain these options. Definitely. I think actually the shoot we were just talking about that's featured this morning on the Unveiled blog is a great example of using an arch somewhere and then moving it. I'm gonna have to get this episode out quickly so I can share them together, so I might bump you up the queue a bit. So what's the process then when a couple comes to you?
So when a couple comes to me, we usually book in a consultation. So we, because of COVID, been doing that over Zoom usually. So Zoom or a telephone call. Before COVID, it would either still be done like that, or I'd meet them at their venue and we'd walk through their day and what they're wanting. So it's just a chat really about trying to, I suppose I see it as getting in their mind, like what do they see their wedding looking like? And you know, some people find it really easy to verbalize that about what it is that they want. Some people are really picture orientated, some people don't know, but they know what they don't like or what they do like. So it's kind of finding out about them, their likes and dislikes. You know, I go into quite a lot of detail with the bouquets, you know, like, do they like it big and wild? Do they want it to be neat? Do they, you know, like all of those things, so that I've got a picture in my mind about what it is that they're thinking. We talk about colour schemes. Sometimes it's linked with other suppliers, the stylists that are involved. And then, so we have a big long chat about all of that. And then I pull together quite a big document about lots of pictures about what we've talked about. So I give that to them. And most of the time it's that they book, and then we have another chat probably about 8 weeks before their big day, just to go through everything, and that can be at their venue as well. So they can visualize it and they know when everything's going to happen. So when we're going to arrive, how they're going to get their bouquet, you know, all of those things and logistics of the day, because every wedding is different. Like we know, like some of them are all at the same venue and you can stay at the venue, sometimes you can't. Sometimes they have the venue all weekend. So all of those things we go through in detail and check that everything is still as they planned it before. Because like we know, things can change. You can have a like or a dislike. You see something else that you feel fits better.
Yeah.
And then we do everything from getting the flowers right the way through to delivering everything, clearing everything down. If needed, we stay on the day as well to move elements as well. Like we talked about, big backdrops and things like that, if they can be moved. So that's kind of our process, really. And then any kind of email, telephone contact in between, everybody's different with that. Some people want more, some people want less, and it's very dependent on the person, really. That's
I mean, so it's a very involved process, really, including actually on the wedding day itself. So do you have a team helping you, or how do you do it?
I've got a lovely group of freelancers that help me. So again, like we talked about, the floristry community is a lovely place to be, and we all help each other out. Freelancers, it's not always the same person either, so you know, it's a group of people who work with me basically, and
it's a good way to do it. We use freelancers also in our editorial team, and it means you can have more input from different types of people, and kind of get better results, really, than when you're sort of in a vacuum with you know, yourself and your features editor. So it works for us, definitely. And so do you limit the amount of weddings you do then, because that's obviously quite a lot of time dedicated to each couple?
Yes, for that reason, I do. And when I set up Dittany Entwined, it was one of my big things that I wanted to make sure that I could do, because when I was getting married, it felt really important to me, and the suppliers that were providing a service like that were really involved and helpful, and you know, helped me understand my vision, were the people who stuck out for me. So everybody's different with that, but that was really, really important for me, and that was one of the things that I wanted to make sure was built in to my business plan, really, when I was developing it. And obviously that's evolving because I'm relatively new, but I definitely feel like I want to limit it for that, so that I can dedicate my time to the couples and make sure that got everything that they want.
And then it's also because you started because you loved it and for the art of it. So it's also sort of, as your business grows, not sort of losing sight of that, I think is quite key, because we do these things, you know, to make money, but we do them for the love as well. For me, actually, because we're just chatting here. So for me, when I launched the network earlier this year, that really brought back to me like the reasons I started the blog in the early days. We back in the early days, we had like tweet ups and industry events and things like that as part of trying to promote ourselves, but also kind of what we wanted to do. And bringing the network back's really brought that back for me, and I'm enjoying it a lot more. Not just being sort of some castle in the sky doing our editing and you know, popping up every 6 months with a magazine. It's been a lot more joyful for me. So it's been a good sort of sea change this year, definitely, and sort of refocusing on what you want to do. And I think that's really important in business, you know, particularly when you're providing a service like you are, to sort of stay true to the reason, like your why in the first place, essentially.
It makes you the happiest, doesn't it? And that means then you can give back that happiness and that joy. And so that, and making things really personal and bespoke, is kind of where I want it. And you can't do that if you're doing lots and lots and lots. So I think this year was going to be a year of a kind of trial of it, of how much I felt like I could do, and obviously that's not happened. So I have capped it now for next year, because it is feeling really, really busy, and I don't want that service level to drop because it is so busy. So that's why
Yeah, I think it's wise, and it's your couples that have booked with you already will feel like they're in really safe hands, because that is a sensible approach for sure. You're not going to go mad. You're not going to get depressed, although, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
outside events. But, you know, nobody
Yeah,
wants a sad florist,
no,
because you're creating art, and art
yeah,
sort of shows emotion. So
exactly. Yeah,
you,
yeah.
you have to look after yourself,
You
definitely.
definitely do, and have the time to do all of these things. There's a lot of prep that goes into it all.
Mm.
Like, one wedding isn't just a day, it's a week's worth of things before, so you can't deliver that same service if you've got lots of weddings. You just can't dedicate the time, unfortunately. You don't have that much time. There's
Yeah.
only a certain amount of hours in the day, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. No millionaires here.
No. No.
Just artists,
Yeah,
not millionaires.
yeah,
So, okay. So, Nicola, styled shoots then.
yeah.
So it's something that obviously you seem to be excelling at.
Yeah, something I love. Yeah.
Yeah. So why do you enjoy them so much? And like, why do you do them? What do you get out of them?
For me, they're pure creation. That's what it is. Um, Obviously, you get given a brief, and it's something you've got to work towards, but it is purely what comes out of you, rather than thinking about all the other elements that come together for a wedding that you've got to fit in with, and obviously your clients, what they want. Whereas with a styled shoot, to me, it's a chance to test the boundaries, try something you haven't done before, um, see if something works, and be really properly creative. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter as much if it doesn't work. That's how I see it. So it's a lot. It feels really free, therapeutic, and just a chance to test out what you can do and what can come out of your mind, really. And yeah, like I said, it's just pure creation. That's what it is, and chance to play around with things, meet other suppliers that you've not worked with before, see different venues. They're just a great day to be around. They're really tiring and really long, but they're
Just a
just a great
bit.
they're just really, really, really great to be around, and see different people, and all of basically start to finish is just great for me.
Yeah.
Because it gives me that true therapeutic drive that originally, that's why I came into it for.
Yeah, I think it is nice to see the suppliers too, because you get you kind of get ideas that then feed back into your work, don't you, when you sort of
Yeah,
spend that day as a creative hub with other really enthusiastic people who are super passionate about what they do. I think it's really lovely to, it kind of buoys you up, and you are absolutely depleted and knackered because you give as much as you get, but
yeah,
it definitely kind of fires the
yeah,
neurons in the brain, doesn't it, and gets things going. But I love the idea of trying things which then if they work, you can then pass on to your wedding couples. That's really cool.
yeah,
I really would like to work with you on a style shoot soon, so I'm going to start
yeah,
stalking you and harassing you
yeah.
about it. But
Yeah, like just like little things, like I really, really, really love like I've mentioned, making backdrops, but actually ones that just fit in the venue space. So not necessarily an arch, or not necessarily like something, a structure that's already there. It's actually making something that fits with the space that you've got. Like, I love doing things like that. So, and I think lots of the people who've got used to working with me now have a bit of an idea of when I'm going into it, but it's more when I'm there and I see everything together, that it all, for things like that, for like a backdrop, it all comes together, and it might actually change slightly when we're there, when we know what space we're using and what's going on, what the lighting's like, all of those kind of things, where we're going to get the models to stand, all of that kind of stuff kind of changes things, and it morphs into something slightly different. And that's what I really love about it.
yeah,
And all of those things that I've learned from doing that, I then take back to doing weddings. And when I'm talking to couples about it, those are the things I'm thinking about, like, where's it going to go? And I say to the couples as well, when we're talking, like, this is the plan that we've got now, but actually when we walk around your venue, we might change where that goes, or it might change to something slightly different because of these reasons. So it's really helped me in that way as well, to kind of
yeah,
visualize things as a whole.
yeah, definitely. I think you also kind of like, you learn like from the photographer and the way it's lighting it and all that sort of stuff, and the people on you learn about a bit about your marketing too, don't you? So you know how to take a good shot for Instagram and all that sort of stuff that then I'll sort of show off your work. I definitely have learned loads. I think I'm feeling, so just as you were talking there, as kind of my creative juices were flowing a bit, I'm feeling a bit of I'd quite like to see a bit more paired, you know, when you're saying about fitting into a space, like I'd like to see a bit more of a paring down of the formality of things a little bit, and sort of a little bit more organic structures. Ooh, I've got an idea. Okay, this is exciting. Okay, so what would you pick if you were getting married tomorrow? What would you have for your wedding? Don't think about the season in this. I don't mean literally tomorrow, September, certain flowers aren't available. I mean, what would you choose?
I don't know, it changes all of the time. I definitely would do my flowers that I had for my wedding differently now if I got married again. I love like just little things like bridal bouquets and big backdroppy things are my kind of things that I absolutely adore making, and I would always make regardless of whether I had freelancers with me or not. So for a bridal bouquet I'd probably have a really oversized big bridal bouquet, I think, with lots of texture and a mixture of kind of dried things and fresh things. I definitely have depending on the venue, some kind of statement piece, and that's probably where my money would go if I was married. And probably keep the table simple but with lots of candles. I really like candlelight, which I think a lot of people do. So actually autumn and this time of year is perfect for me because it stands out a bit more. So I think I'd probably focus on those parts, and I think what I would do now that I probably didn't think when I got married was think about where the main parts of the day that I wanted images from at the end of it. So like I didn't really think about what it would look like for my first dance, or I didn't really think about the top table, and actually the fact that I know we're having speeches, but I didn't think about the fact that there'd be lots of pictures around that. The main thing I thought about was the ceremony, and that was obviously at the time that was the most important thing for me. So I think now that I know more and I've worked with lots of other people, I'd probably think about this whole day and and it being fluid throughout. So yeah, thinking about things that could be maybe moved. I really love using for centerpieces, like I call them punch bowls, but like bowls that you can make quite wild and pretty, and they fit with so many different themes. So I'd probably have something like that as a centerpiece, something more wow and big for the top table, and yeah, definitely something more focal for the ceremony, I think.
And I love the idea of definitely. Well, you were never going to have a small neat lily of the valley, were you? Not one of the disappointing royal bouquets, that's for sure. Yeah, I love the idea as well of, like we talked earlier about moving the pieces if you can from the ceremony. A load of stressed out ushers as well, but not with your team. Moving the stuff from the ceremony to the venue and using it maybe behind your top table or something like that. I think that's a really great way to do it. You put the fear of God in me, I must admit, having worked on style shoots with Pampers grass before, talking about candles and Pampers grass in the same sentence. So for anyone who's listening to this and thinking, oh, I'm going to do my own wedding florals and Pampers grass and candles,
please don't.
Just make sure they're nowhere near each other, because I have been party to a Pampers grass and candle incident.
And Pampers grass bits fall off it all the time, which I don't think people realise. It's not, if you're a really neat, tidy person that doesn't want any fluff or anything anywhere, then Pampers grass is not for you, because it's always going to mold, it's always going to have stuff come off it. So so it's something definitely to think about. And thinking about, and that's one of the other things that we obviously work with the stylist quite a lot in terms of where things are, so that the candles and the flowers are safe. Particularly dried flowers, they obviously set on fire quicker than normal ones. So
faster than you'd ever imagine. So
So
okay, so Nicola, Where are you based? And do you just work in that area, or do you work further afield? What is it, your parameters?
So I'm based in York, so I cover Yorkshire, but I kind of cover anywhere in the north, really, depending on what people want. Yeah. So my parents live in Cheshire, so I've got a base there as well. So anywhere up in the north of England, really, North Wales.
Perfect.
Area.
Yeah, so you can definitely cover our Brides Up North readership and Veiled readers.
Yeah.
Actually. So how can couples who want to talk to you and have initial consultation with you, how do they find you? How do they get in touch with you?
So they can get in touch with me on my website, which, do you want me to say it? Which is dittanyentwined.co.uk. They can email me at dittanyentwined@gmail.com, or quite a lot of people message me on Instagram, or Facebook is the other option.
So what's your Instagram handle then?
At Dittany Entwined, all one word.
Super simple. There you go.
Yeah.
I've dropped them.
Yeah.
I've dropped them in. Everyone's just seen those in the
Brilliant.
in the live bid. Well, Nicola, thank you so much for being our guest today. I could chat to you for hours about all things kind of floral and inspiring and arty, and really go down a kind of slightly geeky stylist route, I think. But we'll let the people get back to their wedding planning. So guys, if you're looking for an incredible florist who brings a really artistic touch to your big day, and I've seen her results, the results of her work firsthand, then please do check out Dittany Entwined and the lovely Nicola.
Yeah, it's been lovely to talk to you.
Thanks, Nicola.